Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Oh, should I say grand rising? My name is Nomad222, and you are tuning into a peaceful edition of Progress Report. For those of you who have never been here before, who are just joining us for the first time, I encourage you to go back and watch episode 1. It will explain to you exactly what this is, exactly who I am. But for those of you who are returning, welcome back. This is week number 25. And I believe this is episode number 23, if I'm correct. But yes, it's been quite a long time. It's been exactly a week since I released my second single of the year, More Than a Game, which was produced by Iconic Beats, mixed and mastered by Iconic Beats. And the first drop this year to go into the Shoot and Score playlist. And I kind of explained that a little bit more last week about what that means, what's the difference between Rent Free and Shoot and Score. But before we talk a little bit more about More Than a Game and what's coming up next month, let's go ahead and get these numbers out of the way. So what I did this week was I wanted to, just keep building on the evolution of Progress Report, where, I feel like over time we've kind of gotten a little bit more in depth into what we're analyzing, what we're looking at in terms of the numbers. So what I did this time is I also added, we've been looking at the top countries over the past couple of weeks, but I went more into the back end of Spotify to look at top cities and then also look at the rest of my demographics. So the percentage of my listeners' genders, my listeners' ages, and it's very, very in depth. So I'll come back to that a little bit later. But as always, we start with our Spotify monthly listeners, and I'm happy to report in this progress report that we have gone up from 444 to 527 monthly listeners, which is great. So we've been on a bit of a decline for, I want to say, 8 weeks at least. I think it might even be 10. Yeah, looking at it right now, it's been about 10 weeks, and we've slowly been dwindling and going down in terms of people that are listening to me on Spotify. But now we're at 527. I don't want to jinx anything, but touch wood, we continue to see a steady incline of listeners. So thank you to everyone who's tuning in on Spotify. We are currently sitting at 160,206 streams all time. So that's a big jump. So that's the difference of 1,186 streams in the past 7 days. So amazing. Great. We have 301 followers on Spotify. So we lost 2 more followers. The most that we've had since we began this journey was 327. So that's not great. That doesn't feel too great, but it is what it is. If you're watching this now and you're not following me on Spotify, please go ahead and do so. That would really mean a lot. But we are currently added to 1,215 playlists on Spotify, so that's great. On Apple Music, 2 monthly listeners, and our total streams are at 8,329. We had 45 new streams over the past week on Apple Music, so that's cool. And then in terms of social media, I did get a little bit more in depth, but actually let me go back to Spotify and talk about those top countries. So the top countries in order are number 1, Australia with 147 listeners, Philippines with 94 listeners, United States with 88 listeners. Actually, let me double check that. I think I might have gotten that wrong. I think it's 94 listeners in the Philippines, 88 listeners in the US, 33 listeners in New Zealand, and 22 listeners in South Africa. Now, to go even more in depth there, let's talk about the top 5 cities that are listening to me at the moment. So I've got 97 listeners in Melbourne. We've got 20 listeners in Sydney, 16 listeners in Auckland, 16 listeners in Johannesburg, and 15 listeners in Brisbane. Filipino cities are nowhere to be seen in this top cities category. which was surprising. But when you think about it, I wasn't aware that people were listening to me in Sydney. That really surprised me. That surprised me that Sydney is my second city. It also surprised me that Auckland is my third city. Johannesburg even being in there makes no sense to me. That's crazy. And 15 listeners in Brisbane. So shout out to all of those cities: Sydney, Auckland, Johannesburg, Joburg. That's crazy. And Brisbane, like, Australia, like, that means a lot. That's crazy to me. I don't know who's streaming me out in these cities, but it's much appreciated. Hopefully I get to come see you guys in person at some point. But that's cool. Now, the other thing that I introduced this week was again, gender and age. So talking about the split of the genders that listen to my music currently, it's 25% female, 69% male, 2% non-binary, and 4% not specified. I just thought that was cool. So yeah, obviously a lot of the boys are streaming my music, so that's cool. And for all the females that are out there listening to this music, I promise there's more things that are on the way that are going to speak directly to y'all. And yeah, to everybody else, non-binary, not specified, I really appreciate you being here. I hope I don't do anything to mess that up. And you know, Nomad222's got a little something for everybody. That's what I'm trying to say. And the age demographics. So under 18s, 2% of my listening base. 18 to 24 is 23%, but 25 to 34 age range is where 52% of my listeners sit. So it's pretty much, you know, my age group, my demographic. 17% of my listeners are 35 to 44, and then 45 to 54 is 4%, 55 to 64 is 1%, and 65 plus is 1%. So I just thought that was cool. I thought it might be worth mentioning here. But yeah, obviously there's a little bit of everything for everyone, but I feel like going off of that, I've got a more narrow view of who my core demographic is at the moment. Obviously big in Australia, amongst the 25 to 34 year old males. So again, shout out to the boys. Yeah, so let's talk about social media now. All right, first of all, we always start with Instagram. We got 4,108 followers on Instagram, which is up from last week where we were at 4,089. We have 5,515 new followers on TikTok, which is cool. Last week we were at 5,488, so I believe that's about 20 to 30 new followers, roughly. YouTube, 602 last week, and now 625 this week, so that's crazy. Something else that I've recorded this week is the amount of views. I wanted to actually give you guys the amount of views and interactions, so that it's not just a percentage, because the percentages, like, I feel like when I'm sharing them with you guys and I'm telling you that I got 1.77% engagement rate on TikTok, on Instagram last week, and then 6.05% on TikTok, like, it's not really, the understanding isn't really there. So I want to go and explain that a little bit further. So on Instagram, I had 22,907 views over the past week, 585 interactions this week. So now you can kind of hear a bit more about how those percentages are made based off of that figure. Only 585 people are liking, commenting, or sharing on my posts on Instagram, but I'm getting 22,000 views. So I'll double back on that later. But the crazy thing about those views is that 38.6% of those views are people who are actually following me, and 61.4% are people that aren't following me. But the interactions, the 585 interactions, 75.3% of those are people following me, and 24.7% of those are people that aren't following me. So there's a lot of people who aren't following me that are coming across my content, viewing it for the first time, but just not leaving a like or a comment or a share. But for those who do, majority of them are the people that follow me. So in a way, it does kind of make sense. I think going off the views alone, I was immediately I thought, people are just watching me to see me embarrass myself. And that's just more of an insecurity sort of thing. So people are just watching me and not really giving a fuck about what I'm doing and what I'm trying to build and stuff. But they're seeing what I'm doing and they're just like, they're just waiting for me to fall off, I guess. But that's how I felt when I just read into the views. But then when I actually see who's responsible for those interactions, then I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe it's not that. Maybe it's more so, I have to think about my own tendencies as a scroller, as a viewer, as a consumer. When I'm scrolling, I'll come across something funny for the first time, someone that I'm not following. I'll just laugh in real life. And then I'll just scroll past, move on to the next one. So when I think about it through that lens, it kind of makes sense still. And kind of, quells my, my insecurities a little bit. So I just thought that was worth sharing. The engagement rate on that is 2.55%, which is still higher than last week. However, last week, we were told that 1.77% was average, but this week we are being told that engagement rate is slightly below average. So we got a higher engagement rate this week, but now it's considered slightly below. So I think that just goes to show how the landscape of social media changes so rapidly these days. What was once considered a high engagement rate 7 days ago is no longer considered high. So something to think about. On TikTok, in the past 7 days, I've had 12,000 views, 831 likes, 56 comments, and 2 shares. That is an engagement rate of 7.4%, which is up from last week at 6.05%. Across the platform, the engagement rate is above average, suggesting that my content is resonating well with the platform's audience. I will admit I've been getting a few more haters in my comments on TikTok recently. Just laughing. And I think that's probably another thing that's like added to my insecurity a little bit, and something that I need to learn to ignore and just let roll off. But yeah, just people being like, this song is ass. This song is ass. You're not him. There was a piece of bulk content that went out this past week where it was promoting Destined, my song from like 2019. And at the start of that snippet, I rap, "This why I had to quit my day job. Ill-advised, but knowing that I could rise to the occasion had me feeling audacious." Someone heard that line and then they commented, "Get that day job back, bro." Oh man, that killed me. I can't lie. I thought it was so funny. At the same time, it hurt a little bit, a lot of it. But I hit them back with like, see, I was going to, but Timberland told me on TikTok Live that I have what it takes, so I think I'm gonna listen to him and not someone whose default picture is a dog or something like that. I forget what it was. But that was kind of, after a while, I kind of regretted that a little bit, if I'm being real, because I was like, nah, that probably didn't need that much energy at all. So that's something that I'm trying to grapple with now. But with that being said, engagement doesn't discriminate between positive or negative interactions. An interaction is an interaction. Comment, a like, a share is a comment, a like, or a share. It doesn't really matter. So as long as the engagement is going up, that's the main thing. People are gonna hate, but people are also gonna love it too. And I want to shout out Beyond Haddon. I want to shout out YG Mountie. I want to shout out Magic Moldy from TikTok for being very vocal on my account, recently. You know, just commenting on every post, liking every post, and really shouting me out and really bigging me up and letting me know that like my content is hitting and showing up on their page and stuff. Because that just lets me know that I'm heading in the right direction. And as long as I know that I'm heading in the right direction, I'm gonna continue to keep doing these things, and I'm gonna continue to build these habits so that I'm still, you know, jumping on and doing this every week. Every Thursday I need to jump on. I mean, it's Friday today, but every Thursday I need to jump on and I need to get in front of this camera and do this progress report. Every Monday I need to jump on and do a Mad Monday. I need to post my bulk content. I need to promote my new songs every single day. And as long as you guys are resonating with it, that means that this shit is working. So I'm gonna continue to do that. Those were just the 3 names that came to mind. I know there's been a lot more. Halo Rain from NZ, shout out to you as well, because you've been supporting me since I, you know, started re-releasing the album last year. There's too many people to name, but those are just the main ones on TikTok for now. On YouTube, had 5,577 views, 213 likes, 10 shares, and 19 comments. And that's the most engagement that I've had on the platform in quite some time, especially in the views department. The views are going up. The most amount of likes, shares, and comments in a single week. So that's amazing. And again, just really grateful for that. That puts our engagement rate for that period of time at 4.2%. It is on par with the platform's norms, but I've been told that it could benefit from strategies like CTAs to drive more shares and comments. I'm not sure what a CTA is. So if you guys know what a CTA is, please comment it below. Let me know what that means exactly, because I'd like to figure that out and see if it is something worth implementing. Because again, you guys know by now, we're trying to get a golden play button, which reminds me, please subscribe to this channel if you aren't already subscribed. Leave a like and a comment on this video, and just tell me what you want to see more of. But YouTube, I have been very happy with and very fulfilled in seeing the growth on this platform over time. I think for those of you who have been following for quite a while, or even just started following me at the end of last year or the start of this year, you would have seen that I've kind of tried to focus more on organizing my channel and also just creating a backlog of content with, you know, performance videos from the past, vlogs from the past, all kinds of things from past moments that I've experienced, and just kind of been like, why haven't I already had this stuff up and available for people to see my portfolio of work, my body of work for since I began. And I've really been trying to put more of an effort into getting that out. I mean, the other day I uploaded, I think it was an hour and 30-minute vlog from November of last year, where we, you know, it was a work vlog, but it was like a 3-day stretch where I was working on a bunch of dope things, and it culminated with my daughter's birthday. But yeah, just really trying to invest more time into long form content as well as short form content. I think my short form stuff is what's really driving people to come and see what's happening with my life, you know, long term. I mean, I had a phone call the other day with Chief Tabir. Shout out to Tabir. And yeah, he big upped me on the fact that I am making this content. And I briefly expressed to him that, like, a lot of the time it feels like I'm screaming into a void, because I post these things online and, you know, it'll get less than 20 views. But I have to keep in mind that 12 views is still 12 views, whether that's one person watching it 12 times or it's 12 different people watching it once. And I have to express my appreciation for the fact that anyone is willing to lend me their time and their attention for that longer period. I mean, this video is 19 minutes. I'm pretty sure I made one of these that took up the entire 30 minutes that I'm able to film off this camera. But it is deeply appreciated. It truly is. And though I lose sight of it at times, I really am trying my best to keep a level head when it comes to this stuff. We are at humble beginnings. I know we're 25 weeks in, but this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And yeah, so that's our statistics for this week. And I have to be honest, I had a little bit of a mental breakdown yesterday, and had a conversation with my partner T about how things are going, because I don't feel good about these first two releases for the year. So if I can be honest with you guys, I feel like Proud of Me and More Than a Game flopped. And I feel it feels really unfair. And if I'm being completely honest, I know that Proud of Me and More Than a Game aren't the two strongest releases that I have in this upcoming batch of music. Even in comparison to my previous catalog, I don't know if they stand in the top 5. And that's just me trying to be subjective about them too. But I do feel like they're not terrible songs. More Than a Game might have an element of cringe to some people. I know that some people don't really, fuck with that whole motivational gym music sort of shit. But it's still like Iconic Beats did his thing. It sounds crisp, sounds clean. I feel like I had some pretty dope flows on it. The hook is catchy. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, it's got an air of 2000s to it. But I'm not saying that like just to like big up my own song. I just feel like there's been a little bit of unfairness towards it. So for those of you who are unaware, Proud of Me dropped on the 3rd of January. It's been nearly 3 weeks, nearly a month since it released. And it's only sitting at 647 streams on Spotify, for example. I really feel it's tough to mention because I've been preaching a lot about not having expectations and just being grateful all around. But less than 1,000 streams on a song at this point in my career, it feels like such a heavy L to take. And I don't want to be that guy that's like hung up on lack of streams or like, first week sales and stuff like that. I don't want to be DJ Academics. But at the same time, like, fuck, man. I can't get 1,000 streams with my following. 5,000 on TikTok, 4,000 on Instagram, 600 on YouTube. I can't get 1,000 streams in the first week, first month. And that was the first release. Second release of my song, second release for the year, More Than a Game, came out last Friday. It's been 7 days since it came out. And right now, it is at 68 all-time listens. I'll let that focus. 68 all-time streams for that release. All of a sudden, one person is listening now. This is not a live video, so if you guys are listening to this right now, I appreciate it. At 9:23 on the 24th of January. So it's hard not to get down when your first release for the year opens up to less than 1,000 streams, and then the second release of the year following that is less than 100 streams. I mean, I'm promoting these songs every single day. I don't understand what is going wrong, why people... And that's when I start to overthink and I start to get a little bit more insecure and I start to analyze my own content. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this shit is cringe. And that's something that I addressed in the behind the scenes of the lyric video film shoot, where, I had to go around and film it myself just so that I could have some content. And in my mind, I was like, this is either going to be decent semi-passable but mediocre, or it's going to be completely cringe. And I feel like it's the latter. I feel like people are seeing me, rapping at the park. My forehead's all sweaty. My hair's like parted weirdly. And they're just like, not this guy again. Swipe. And that's a tough pill to swallow, because a lot of love and a lot of care went into making that song. And we, to this day, I still feel like it deserved to be in Madden or NBA 2K. I'm not sure how we didn't get in there, but it is what it is. In saying that, though, this is really just a valley, but I can't allow myself to be stuck in this valley for a while. It kind of held me down a lot this week. Felt like a really heavy weight on my shoulders, but I know that I need to pull myself out of here in order for the rest of the year to run smoothly, because we got a lot of dope shit happening this year. Just this past week, I sent off 6 new songs to DistroKid to get them out for release. Cover art's all done, and they're ready to go. I've booked them in. So that puts us at, I am aiming to have 26 songs out. 25 songs out since Switch Up. And we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 songs sent off and actually coming out this year, like undoubtedly. And I'm really proud of that, proud of the fact. And I feel like you guys haven't seen anything, you've only seen Proud of Me, More Than a Game, Switch Up. But like Just Do It's coming out next week. That's a bomb. That's gonna come out. That's gonna flip this city on its head if people actually tune in, pay attention to what it is that I'm saying. On the Run's coming out next month as well. Faucet's coming out in March. SOB's coming out in March. Telepathy's coming out in what's that? These dates are wrong. April. I got a lot of dope shit coming out, and I can't allow these first 2 L's to really hinder me in what it is that I'm trying to accomplish this year. So it is what it is. But on another note, I also feel like I'm feeling a bug to get in front of people and perform. And I'm gonna have an honest conversation with you guys right now and say that I'm afraid of doing my own headline show, because the past few shows that I've been doing, no one has turned up for me. No one's come out like expressly to see me. And as much as I like a challenge, I'm getting tired of having to do these shows at certain venues, and where I'm having to prove myself to an audience that are unfamiliar with me. And I have to try and win them over with my set, try and win them over with my stage presence. And I for the longest time I loved that challenge, but I would really love to be able to do a show sometime this year where it's headlined and curated by myself and the room is filled. I want to sell out a venue and fill it with the people that I love and that love me as well. So I'm going to be approaching venues over this next week about allowing me to host an event close to my birthday in October. So my birthday is October 30th, and I want to do a birthday boy show sometime around then. So I'm going to be approaching people and then spending the next 8 to 9 months promoting it as a listening party / celebration sort of thing. So please let me know in the comments if that's something that you'd be down to show up to. Leave a like on this video. I'm going to wrap it up there. I really appreciate you guys for watching me and following me all this time. Please subscribe to the channel so that we can get that golden play button as soon as possible. 625 subscribers as this is going up. As always love and appreciation from me. Be grateful for everything that you have, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And remember, most importantly, that together we move.